Doing great. Hi, everyone. How's the volume?
Great.
Good. All right, great.
For your unit in particular, how big a deal is preseason games to get to see stuff full speed, seeing it live?
Yeah, preseason's a huge deal for us on special teams and for everybody around the league. Getting a first look at some guys that are newer players, seeing them in new roles, maybe evaluating the speed and the decision making and all that. So, something we're really excited for.
Particularly the kickoff, I guess, just kind of seeing it live for the first time. How curious are you to see that?
Yeah, pumped up. It's going to be pretty cool. I think the Hall of Fame game the other night was probably the most anticipated preseason viewing maybe ever that I could think of at least. So that was fun to see, and we're really excited to see our guys bring what we've practiced to life. Should be cool.
What did you notice from that game with the kickoff?
A lot of things. I think maybe the one thing that stood out more than anything else was just the speed that everything happens in terms of the first contact, the cover guy, and the return team blocking. Just how fast that occurred. It's going to be fast. They're only 5 yards away, but still in a game situation with the adrenaline flowing, the speed at which that occurred was still a little surprising, even though you knew it was going to be fast.
Were you able to get much of a sense of anything Saturday at Lumen when you did those? It looked like you did a few reps of the kickoff there.
Yeah, it was good time on task there. It was pretty much the same as stuff we'd been working on and all that, but it's the kind of thing where since it's new, we're getting every exposure. You're getting new experience and you're learning what's good, what's not so good, and guys are getting more and more comfortable with it.
Now that you've had a few weeks here in training camp to really continue diving into that, are you getting a better feel for the types of players that are going to excel back there returning compared to, say, the traditional kickoff?
Yeah, it's necessary to build up a bunch of different guys and have a lot of possibilities back there just to see which way the roster ends up going at certain spots. So trying out a bunch of different guys, seeing who can do what best, what types of return do different guys run best. So it's been an important part of it just to be able to picture, okay, if this guy's active on game day, this is what a good return for him might be, and so on down the line.
Do you have any message for the coach you're going to be facing on Saturday?
No. Be excited to see what our guys can do, and it'll be fun to see what they're building there with him and then a bunch of other guys I'm familiar with. So it'll be cool to see them and pregame and all that, and it's just neat to see them in that first step, just like us, that first step on a journey where you're trying to build a championship team, and it'll be neat to see in person.
From what you've seen so far, is the type of player you're going to want to have on coverage units, and even blocking units, is that any different than what you would have wanted in the past under the old system for kickoffs? Is that player ideally different in any way?
Yeah, the question is, will the typical coverage player be different than it was in the past? And I would say that I think in general you'll get bigger guys on the field maybe than you had in the past, just because you've taken away a good chunk of the running that may have precluded a guy that was 275, 285, 290 from being on the unit before because they didn't have the speed. So now that's not an issue. Those guys can be on the field. So I think in general you might see one or two more guys like that per team. But I don't think it can be all that different because it's still the same active roster and same positions to pull from. So that would be our guess for now, but we'll all find out soon enough.
Could that actually affect roster construction, though? If you're looking at some of the guys that are doing that, when you put the 53 together, I know it's a big job, not just you, but do you think maybe some guys in just like X number of this position are going to make the team? Could that change?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm not really sure. I think that it'll play into the roles that different guys can play. So a bigger body would have a little more versatility now. Let's say a guy who was 6'5", 275, and maybe he was on punt. Maybe there was a role for him on kick return before, but he was never able to play on kickoff. Now that guy might be able to. So in that way it could, but I think it'll still be pretty similar to how it's been.
What also as a possible returner, what traits does he have that might be unique to him?
He's a guy who's practiced really well. He's shown explosiveness with the ball in his hand. He has really good vision. He's, you'd use the phrase natural ball carrier for him. He just has a knack for putting the ball where it should go. He runs with good ball security, and occasionally you'll be standing there in front of the return team, and when he hits a hole and is running at you, he's a pretty big guy. He's a pretty stout guy, and to have his elusiveness, his vision with that size is an exciting thing. So he's a guy I'm excited to watch him in preseason.
What's your priority on punt returners? Is it ball security or elusiveness?
Yeah, so everything will start with ball security for sure. That's the kind of the price of admission to be on the field. You got to be a guy that's great at fielding the ball and then super trustworthy, decision-making wise, all the game situations and the rules and all that stuff. So I would say once you've satisfied that, you've checked that box. Then after that, of those remaining players, you want somebody that's got some explosiveness and ability to hit the home run. So if you're going to pick, though, you'd err on the side of being sure-handed and trustworthy back there.
You talked about how the new rule kind of changes the construction of the different blockers that you want on the kickoff return. Does it change the skill set you're looking for in the returner himself at all?
Yeah, so a lot of people have talked about that. I think it's interesting. I could see it either way, and it's not so super different than the previous world. Like last year, for instance, or 10 years ago, you had people that were running more man type of returns where, hey, the ball can go anywhere and he's going to find a crease. And then there's also people running, more gap scheme type plays where we're going to double team a guy and then trap, and it's more like an offensive power play. And the returners, hey, you're running this course and hitting this gap. Like that's always existed. And moving forward, I think it'll still be the same. I think you'll see different types of plays. And so I would imagine that there'll still be a few different body types. The more punt returner type of bodies, and then the bigger, more downhill type of runners. I think you'll see it all.
Mentioning the running back background with the returns, with you mentioning there's been gap and man blocking, but now with everybody being so tight knit together, does having that background where you're used to running from behind the line of scrimmage and having those blockers tight together like that, do you see that playing an advantage with this new rule?
Yeah, I would say it definitely could. You need a guy with vision. You know what I'm saying? So I think those running backs, obviously, they have just a ton of time on task with the ball, looking at blockers, evaluating gaps, and putting the ball where it should go. But, I think there's receivers that have that kind of vision. Trey Brown is a guy who has good kick return experience and has very good vision. So I don't think it precludes other positions, but I do think Tyler's right. Those guys just have a lot of reps from that vantage point.
With being on different coaching staffs now, with you and your dad, like before you're together and probably sharing ideas all the time, how does that change? Like, how often are you guys talking? Do you even talk football anymore? Or is it just kind of more personal check-ins now?
I would say it's a mix. Football tends to always find its way into the conversation. It's kind of always been that way, and it's nice that we don't play them on the schedule in the regular season. So some of those things can happen, and I think he's the best coach in the world, and enjoy being able to, just like I used to be able to ask him for advice and learn from him. I had the benefit of being able to do that at Michigan for a while, so that was a dream come true, and be able to continue that is really awesome.
Anything else, guys?
Yeah, thanks everyone. Appreciate you guys.